But I was going to say, you could
And we're
also
live.
bring
We are.
Yeah.
It lies. Okay, let's see
I can bring
here.
what?
paper plates or
Oh.
something. Eating
Bring
utensils.
paper towels.
We need to keep the rain off our heads and the heat going. So if you want to donate to the Keep Us Dry, keep our electronics unwaterized, and keep Cedar from shivering in the corner, send money here.
Hell with Cedar. Me too. Damn.
If you like coffee, let's face it, if you don't, what's wrong with you?
Hot
talk-
coffee.
Talk to these guys. Tell them you heard about it here, so send us more coffee.
They do excellent coffee.
They really do.
I'm just going to tell you guys for the next couple of weeks, do not talk about tacos. And I'm just going to leave it at that.
Oh,
Well, you
okay.
can't just walk away on that one.
She just did. As usual, we have Cedar hiding off camera.
And I'm just remembering that I was supposed to bring bread, but it was too busy today. I didn't get to bread. Oh well. We discussed that last night.
So,
Hillbilly's on here. Real quick. Hillbilly called me yesterday. We had a nice long talk. And he's needing reviewers.
Don't we all?
yeah.
I've reached out to a couple of folks and put a thing on North Texas Troublemakers. But if you'd like to review some of his stuff, hit him up and ask what the perks are, if he's got any perks.
Yeah.
But do him a solid for us, if you please.
And here's the thing, which is that reviews are important for Amazon, yes. But I would almost say that if someone's out there that is willing to do reviews on and put them up on a blog or someplace that isn't Amazon, that's actually more important. Because then it's not dependent on Amazon being fickle and suddenly deciding a book shouldn't exist any longer.
Well, Hillbilly's offering free reading materials, so it's free, guys.
Right.
Yeah.
And if someone contacts me and wants to review something of mine and they haven't already bought it for whatever reason, I will provide free reading material. This is probably something that Raconteur Press shouldn't commit to without having a conversation first, but
I'm not
It's
doing
also-
anything. I'm just doing a favor
Yeah.
to Hillbilly.
yeah. So, but this is true for any of us. We all need reviews. So it's if someone needs reading material and they're willing to put in minor amount of effort, really.
You got to read it.
Mhm.
Yeah, you have to read it, yes, but the writing of it, reviews don't have to be complicated. People
Yeah.
tend to think they need to be this whole literary criticism thing.
No.
They really don't.
As long as
Him
it's,
write good.
as long as it's
I mean-
15 words.
Him write good.
Yeah.
That's yours.
You can drink it if you'd like.
No.
Winkle Red, that is not true. Any reviews are good.
Jim Totten, I don't know if he's on here or not.
Not yet.
He got a crap review on one of his books, and we were telling him, dude, 1-star sell books.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And today he discovered 1-star reviews sell books.
Yes, I have bought books based on 1-star reviews. It was a book I bought recently, still haven't read, might not ever read, but I bought it based on the fact that someone gave it a 1-star review because it was not fit for progressive women. And I'm like, okay, I bought that, just sold me the book right there.
Nancy Hillbilly's author name is William Joseph Roberts. One of his,
Sometimes I forget people don't.
yeah,
Well, to be fair, Hillbilly has several names.
yes.
Fair point.
See, that's why I never went with a pseudonym, because I can't remember.
I had to have a pseudonym for a long time.
Yeah, well,
And some people do have.
you're
to
one
have
of
a
those
pseudonym.
special cases.
Yeah, in more ways than one.
Yeah,
I mean, I have an open pen name because I'm aware that my core readership does not want romance cooties on them.
Yeah.
And whether or not that's a fair thing to say, it's reality. So if I'm going to write romance, it's going to be under my other name.
There we go.
So
yeah.
And if I get a little distracted, Larry Correa got me involved in a Twitter fight. So
No.
if I get distracted,
it's because someone is wrong on the internet.
somebody's wrong on the internet.
Somewhere.
Somebody was a moron on the internet.
Mikado, it doesn't do any good for me to write it down, because then I just lose the damn paper it's on. Anyway, since Hillbilly is on here, was pushing his Tales of the Apocalypse anthology, which came out a couple of weeks ago, which I do have a story in.
Yeah, and he's got a couple of anthologies that
Yeah.
just dropped and look really good.
Yeah. Sit, damn it. Got another one of those bottles.
Yeah. Cheap bottles don't stand
Yeah.
upright. My hair is ginger. The light's wrong.
It's called It's Dark Outside. Damn near.
Oh, okay. Somebody decided to let everybody know that he was Fur-Faced McSqueal Jim and had held up a bad guy by the throat and stabulated him. And that
Say what?
yes.
What? Why? What?
And Larry got involved and mentioned it, and I got involved.
Well,
Speaking of stabulating the bad guys in a very roundabout way, I was pleased to see that the fellow that shot the bad guy that was breaking into the taqueria down in Austin was released from his grand jury indictment with no charges.
no charges filed.
It's a
Yeah.
taqueria. It's do not break into a taqueria.
Well, he took a couple extra shots, and that's what they were trying to get him on.
But the thing is, that,
Tacos.
I mean,
How good were the tacos there?
the bad guy was still twitching. He might
Yeah.
still have been armed.
Yep.
Good guy made sure he didn't get up again.
Yeah, David. That guy was truly special in
I
so
don't-
many
I
ways.
think he's talking about the fight that Larry and I are.
Oh,
Yeah.
probably.
He had desecration of a corpse.
I'm not going to say anything about paying the insurance.
Yeah, or eliminating the threat.
Pay the insurance.
Yeah.
Pay the insurance. One of the first things that
Well, Padre, yeah, you do have that problem.
one of the first of the idiosyncrasies that his law dog that Rita picked on was paying the insurance.
Yeah. Yeah, the other thing, well, a couple of things. One is the interesting attack on a federal judge yesterday in Las Vegas.
What? I don't follow the news. There's a reason I don't follow the news.
Well, this was all over YouTube and everything, Facebook. The defendant
busy
went
writing stuff.
across the bench at the judge and got to the judge.
Oh,
Really?
oh
Female
my.
judge.
Courthouse security needs their asses kicked.
Yeah. Yeah, tried to turn the judge's bench into a mosh pit. And it was rather interesting because
Bailiff division needs a serious come to Jesus meeting.
yeah, they had to it took them probably about a minute to get him off the judge.
That's a long time.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, especially if you're talking about a female with a male
Mhm.
jumping on her.
Yeah.
Tactical wheelbarrow, 22, and a barkless weenie dog. Gun kid. I miss that pile of fungus scrapings.
Oh God.
I hope he
Had
got,
to bring that up.
well, I miss that pile of fungus scrapings. I hope they did him dirty in the federal pen.
Mhm.
Why a wheelbarrow? I mean, at least a garden cart would make more sense.
Oh, his
Do not. Do not.
gun kid. Oh my God.
Oh Jesus.
When
Here
we-
we go.
When we were on the firing line and the high road, when we were moderating it, we had to ban that guy 2,000 or 3,000 times.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Yeah.
And the day the feds, the ATF, and I hate them, but they did me a solid. The day the ATF snatched his ass was a grand day. The internet gun forums held a moment of silence
Yeah.
and gratitude.
I don't know if he actually died or not.
I don't-
I've heard rumors either way. I don't care. He's not screwing up the
Gun forums anymore.
gun forms. Yeah.
Silence 22, debark Chihuahua. That was his thing, was
Yeah.
debark Chihuahuas.
Yeah. That one I've still never figured out.
He's a moron.
Yeah. Well, that was beside the point. That was fairly obvious in the one he posted. I mean, regardless of which pen name or handle he was using,
Because he
in the first two sentences, you knew it was Gun Kid again.
Oh, Jason, Gun Kid and Gecko 45 are two separate folks.
Yeah.
Duct tape trauma plates was Gecko 45.
Yeah.
That was a joke.
Yeah.
The whole Gecko 45, that was an in joke by somebody that was actually a regular.
Yeah.
They just took the name Gecko 45.
Yeah. But oh God, it was funny.
Oh, it's a blast.
Gecko 45 was the equivalent of Babylon Bee.
He was the mall ninja.
Yeah.
Gecko 45 was a mall ninja. It was great.
Yeah. Yeah. Actually, I'm actually still on one gun for him, and that's Sniper's Hide.
I've got Emeritus. Thank you.
Yeah.
On both firing line and high road. I haven't been back there in years.
Yeah, I haven't either.
I'm back there in years.
No, Gecko 45 was not real, Jason.
No,
It was all a joke.
It was a joke. It was a joke. They're a good one.
Yeah. Yes, Dawn, you have mentioned that you hate moving. We've heard that once or twice from you.
Okay. I've got a quick question.
Yes, Jim, or yes, Ben, Sniper's Hide is still valid. They still do post on it.
I have a question. Now that Professor Claudine Gay of Harvard is kicked out of her lofty position and back to teaching at $900,000 a year.
Yeah.
What happens when her entire class turns in plagiarized papers?
Yeah.
Now what? She going to give them Fs?
That's a good question.
What's Harvard going to do? If she's teaching a class and a significant portion of the class decides that they feel like plagiarizing papers, what's Harvard going to do? Give them Fs? Wait. The professor plagiarized
Why can't
X
I?
number of times and got promoted. Why am I getting an F?
Yeah.
You mean unequal treatment?
Well, after all, our commander-in-chief is a documented plagiarist, so why not the president of Harvard?
Well, that's true. When the president of the United States does it, gets away with it. Yeah. Yeah.
And for those of you who couldn't hear my little lady's dulcet tones from the back, the amount of sarcasm, she points out that the president of the United States is a documented plagiarist also. I don't know how many people remember that Joe Biden ran back in the 80s or 90s? 80s. 80s. He ran for president. And his run was short because he must not have paid the right people because the press found out that he plagiarized a bunch of stuff and his presidential run ended.
Well, when you plagiarize one of JFK's main speeches, that might have something to do with it. Hey, Julie, hopefully you and Freeman are doing well. Yeah, Hamas lost 2 leaders in a short time, Claudine Gay and Salah Aruri.
Who the hell's Salah Aruri?
He was the number 3 in Hamas. They got him
that guy.
Yeah, they got him day before yesterday.
Israelis putting in overtime?
Actually, U.S.
Oh, we did?
Yeah.
Did we send an apology note?
No.
Oh, okay.
Well, don't know.
State Department will be pinning the apology note as we speak.
Yeah, of course. Speaking of which, I did pull this quote. U.S. allies promise larger military response if Red Sea attacks persist.
They're going to persist.
Yeah.
That's what they do in that area of the world.
Partner nations have warned of the possibility of escalating military actions.
This is why we never should retire the Iowa-class battleships. Because nothing says knock that shit off like parking the Iowa-class and the Iowa offshore and doing a broadside on launch sites.
You don't need a broadside.
You have to make a point, Jim. You spend a little to make the point.
2,700 pounds of HE will pretty much make a fucking point.
9 of them make 9 times the point.
That'd be half the country.
And
Yeah.
I call it urban. I call it urban improvement.
Yeah. Yeah. Claudine gives a tearful resignation speech entitled Gettysburg Address. Yes.
I love the meme.
That was the Wisconsin, by the way, that got told temper.
I love the meme that's got Claudine Gay's keyboard. It's got 3 buttons: a control, a C, and a V.
Yeah.
So, Gun Kid,
With,
courtesy of Miss Cedar.
with chihuahuas.
With
Yeah,
chihuahuas.
with Chihuahua. And the story about the Wisconsin, by the way, is actually true.
Oh yeah,
Doesn't surprise me.
that's what makes it so wonderful.
And the round bounced off the armor.
Well, yeah, it might have
It
scratched
scratched
the
the
paint.
paint. Yeah,
Some petty officer's pissed off because now he's got to get people out to repaint it.
I know. Some
Yeah.
for a decade went, God damn it, get over the side with a paintbrush.
3 keys for success: control, C, and V.
Yeah. Uh,
You know, the state of Texas. I have suspicions about what they're doing with the Dreadnought Texas down there. It's
Yeah.
a Dreadnought, folks. What they're doing with the Dreadnought, and I hope like hell they're rearming it
yeah.
because it's Texas. And
Well, it's got 12 inches on it,
14.
or 14, yeah. New Jersey's actually Texas is in dry dock right now. New
Yep.
Jersey's going in soon.
Texas has been in dry dock. It got turned over to the state, and
Yep.
we raised enough money. I was pushing that one hard.
Yeah.
Raised enough money to get the old lady taken care of.
I was looking at a picture of her in the dry dock, and the only thing that came to mind was the song "Fat Bottom
Fat
Girls
Bottom
Make the
Girls.
Girl Go Around."
Well, they actually had to modify her hull to get the brown rig stabilizers on. That's why she's such a fat bottom girl.
Mm-hmm.
She has a
She has
round
nice
butt.
curves, though.
She rolled like a bitch.
I'm sure with all those curves.
Yeah, just ask the Germans in 1944 when she rolled over on it, and so she could increase her firing angle.
Well, you do that on purpose.
I know they did it on purpose.
But the problem with the destroyers and the battleships was they were basically sharp.
Mm-hmm. And you can't do that with that.
You can, but the problem is when you get in rough water,
Mm-hmm.
the boat does this
Yeah.
because it's basically a fulcrum point.
Right.
So you add the brown rig stabilizers
Mm-hmm.
to lessen the roll moment on it.
Okay.
Yeah, Texas. I have fondness for Texas.
Yeah.
She was a fighting ship. She really was.
That I didn't know, Wally.
But
Queen's record label won't put out Fat Bottom Girls on the Greatest Hits album.
that I heard that somewhere. I didn't verify it, but I heard that somewhere. That's really seriously.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Because, I mean,
Yeah, Waco Red, they were also torpedo blisters. And what they would do was they would ballast down and fill them with water, which, yeah, you can take that both ways. Water is not compressible, contrary to popular opinion.
Having done a couple of water landings, I will guarantee you the water is not compressible.
I have jumped off taller cliffs than I ought to dive into the water. And
Yeah.
yes, water is not compressible. I, on the other hand, am.
Yeah.
Ow.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, Nancy. That's why you never join the Coast Guard, because the icebreakers do not have stabilizers on them.
Ooh.
I didn't join the Coast
Makes
Guard because I'm
sense.
not 6 foot tall. I can't
Yeah.
walk to shore if my boat sinks.
Need to be taller than 6 feet.
Actually, Polar Star has traveled more miles than most other ships in the military because they routinely go from the Arctic to the Antarctic and back and forth and
That
back
is,
and forth.
without stabilizers, that's a long trip.
That's a long rolling trip. Yes.
Oh my goodness.
Coast Guard, making sure the Navy has pretty babies since 1796.
No comment, Courtney. Yeah, there are now some all-female groups that sing Fat Bottom Girls. Not going there either. Yeah, our Coast Guard and Navy Rescue and Air Force Rescue, they have to go out. They don't have to come back.
Yeah.
And more than once, that's actually happened.
More than once I've seen the Navy going out into weather, the Coast Guard going out into weather, and Navy was coming back from.
Yep.
The Navy was coming in because damn, and Coast Guard was going out. It's like,
Yep.
"Ooh."
because you got to.
That's the job. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Polar Star is an interesting ship. Last time I was down in Australia, down in Adelaide, we went up to Swan Valley, which is their big wine region in Australia, and was walking around talking to some people at one of the wine things. And I look over, and here's this plaque from the Polar Star. I'm kind of looking at it, and the gent looks where I'm looking and goes, "Oh, you know what that is?" I said, "Yeah, that's a Coast Guard icebreaker." He said, "A what?" I said, "That's a Coast Guard icebreaker." And the guy goes, "Huh, wonder where Dad got it." I said, "How long have you had the winery?" He says, "This is the third generation." That's why that plaque is there. They probably bought some stuff from your dad and liked it.
It's good enough winery to say may have saved the crew.
Yeah.
Boy, this winter, I need to go. I need to get a decent crook top crane.
Yeah.
Crook top cane.
Yes.
Yes,
A cane.
I need to get a cane with a round top because holy hell, my hip was hurting yesterday.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm not feeling real good today either.
I'm better
Sanford
today.
has several. But I'm going to say one of the good places that we found interesting old ones for him is hit up the big antique mall, hit Alley Cat.
Okay.
And because I know I've seen some there because when I have him with me, we'll shop for them. But there's no point in me doing it without him. You have to try it on and make sure you fit.
Also, I'm very particular about my canes.
Right. But I like the antique, the wood canes, the old bent wood, because with a lot of the modern canes, it's cheaply made, cheap wood, flimsy.
And when you hit a heavy bag, they bend.
Yeah, and with some of the older canes, that wood is hard. It is old. It is dry.
Seasoned,
Yeah.
properly seasoned.
Yeah.
No, though I've got a couple of straight canes, including my favorite, which Rita got me at NRA show. I like the cane.
Yeah.
But
Made by cold steel might be why.
also, I have wailed on a heavy bag for minutes at a time and it never bent or broke.
Yeah.
Crook top, you can hang it over your arm while you're doing stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I was carrying my cold steel yesterday for a bit, and I kept setting it down
And forgetting
and
it.
forgetting it, or
Yeah.
it'd roll off the table. It's like, son of a
Yeah.
bitch.
Yeah.
And my hip was hurting so bad that bending down and picking up really sucked.
Yeah. Yeah. Sanford has some that have figured heads, but after a while, those hurt the hand.
Mm-hmm.
So he's got one that's a crook top that was his grandfather's, and it is a nice piece, and it fits him really well,
If you take a crook top and you hang it on the outside of your arm,
like
so
an
that-
umbrella.
like an umbrella, so you can drop your arm and grab it, and it spins into your hand,
Yeah.
and then you can do things with it.
What's
Also-
this about a shooting in Arkansas? I know about the one in Iowa.
Iowa, wasn't it?
Yeah, I know about the one in Iowa.
Apparently, there's been another one in Arkansas.
Holy God!
The one in Iowa, I have someone that lives not very far away from it, close enough that they were actually watching the emergency responders head to and from. It was before school hours.
Aloha snack bar or Rainbow?
It's difficult to tell. Nobody's letting anything out.
Yeah.
The law enforcement's being very quiet, as they should be at this phase.
Rainbow.
The
He, she, or it already capped themselves too.
Yeah, well, law enforcement is saying that the shooter is no longer a problem, but they also haven't said the shooter is dead, but fairly sure.
That's law
But-
enforcement speak for the shooter's dead.
Yeah, But again, a 48-hour rule.
Not a problem. Does not mean
72-hour rule.
not a problem. Does
Yeah.
not mean in custody.
Yeah.
Right. No, I'm aware of that, and that was me reading between the lines. But they're I think they were going to do a press conference at 10 o'clock this morning, and I've been too busy to pay any attention to what that might have come out.
I didn't bother to watch it because
Yeah, they aren't going to say much at this
No.
point.
the other thing that's out is the Epstein list, apparently, of close confidence. But I'll be damned if I'm going to read through 894 pages
I'll,
to see who's on the list.
I'll find somebody's summary of it.
I could care less. It
Well,
was.
I just want to know. I want to know. Some of the names I want to know.
I could care less.
800 pages could be pretty much everyone.
Yeah.
I mean,
4chan. Ha! Why am I not surprised 4chan's in the middle of it?
Only problem with
of course they
4chan.
are.
Only problem with 4chan. Bless our artistic little hearts. Weaponized autism for the win. Is they're liable to slip in names that they think need to be there.
Yeah.
They are not exactly unbiased.
Yeah. Clinton, Alan Dershowitz, apparently
Any of
Stephen
those.
Hawking.
Seriously.
Well, because again, the list of names doesn't have to actually mean anything.
Yeah.
It's when you have a list of names that's actually connected to real information and real
Yeah.
data, not just whatever the hell you pulled off of some dude's computer.
Yeah. Prince Andrew. I could care less for that reason because all you have is a name. You have no details.
Right. I mean, Stephen Hawking, did he buy a book by Stephen Hawking and it was therefore on a
Yeah.
name on a computer somewhere? Eh?
Yeah.
I mean, this is
The Pope, when he was a bishop in the 80s, supposedly. Yeah.
That's not a surprise.
Yeah.
I want.
You know,
I want to see if Chief Justice Roberts is on there
yeah.
because that would explain a lot.
yeah, but I mean, again, with how much weight do we want to give this?
Good point.
I mean, I've had a weird one I've been working on this week. Because I can't read as much as I would like to. I don't have time. I've been wanting to do some research, and so it needs to be either audiobook or like a YouTube video so I can listen to it.
Yeah.
Trying to find information on YouTube, documentaries or whatnot, on the Silk Road, South Sea trading, or
Oh Lord.
anything else like that doesn't immediately devolve into slavery.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
Of course.
I want nice crunchy information, and no, we're going to do 10-minute videos on the world's trade routes in 10 minutes.
Speaking of slavery, everybody does know that the Houthi rebels in Yemen have reinstituted slavery, right? Officially.
Yeah.
Officially
I
reinstituted
was going to
slavery.
say reinstituted. That means that they stopped.
Yeah. Well, they've never stopped. So,
But they've officially reintroduced it. So
Yeah.
all these college kids that are back in the Houthis, you need to stop. But that's like telling the liberals that the slave labor built or dug the minerals for their battery operated cars.
yeah.
Child slave labor, my bad.
Or that Jesus was born in Palestine.
That one.
But this is the problem with the internet: is you have a deluge of information,
Yeah.
and there's no way to know if any of it's based on anything.
And
Occasional-
I gotta take this one. Ouch.
Occasional cortex running her mouth about how Jesus was born in a Muslim country.
I would say that she's never encountered history, but she probably has and just managed to forget it somehow.
She was on her phone the entire time.
They
Because
covered that in class, but you were talking.
you heard in class, but you were looking at your phone. You were playing Farmville on your phone. Or
I
on
don't know,
Tumblr.
I'm
or-
wondering if she may post-date Farmville, as much as that makes me feel old. Candy Crush.
We've already been discussing the cane. You don't need to rub it. You don't need to rub it in.
I'm the one that's contemplating the fact that my oldest turns 25 at the end of the month.
The Cedar shirt does blend into the wall.
Yes, it does.
Yeah. So here's Jim's taking off. Here's Cedar. So on to slightly more cheerful things. Holy crap, you guys! The stories you sent in for steampunk.
Mm-hmm.
Holy crap, guys! Oh, y'all get better and better. You really do. Giant freaking robots. I'm not touching that because that's on
James Young.
James Young. So I don't want to joggle his arm. But if the stories for giant freaking robots are anything like the stories we got for the steampunk antho,
I'll have
I'm
to
just
design another cover.
Lord have mercy, guys. Keep going. Just Lord. The stories are fantastic. How many submissions did you guys get? For which one? As usual, here at Raconteur Press, we have a unofficial policy that if we announce a anthology, there'll probably be 2 of them. I don't know why this is. Apparently, it doesn't happen to anybody else. Well, Hillbilly does because he's on version 4 of the Trailer Park. So he understands, but
Yeah.
and it's I don't understand traditional publishing that, well, we like the story, but we couldn't. Why not?
They have printing issues that we don't.
Well, then they need to get around them.
No, they do those contracts a year in advance. They can't get around them.
I think that 2024 is full at this point.
It is full.
So if you have an anthology idea, Hillbilly, I suggest you take it on.
We don't have any more room.
We don't have any room till 2025. And
Sandra Lee Studios is not doing anthologies right now.
I'm not going to say anything. Somebody yelled, "Shush, William." Why do you?
Evie shushed William because she's a sweetheart. That's why. When we come up with a new anthology that's scheduled and ready to go, and I actually hit the point where I'm starting to generate art for it, I create enough art to cover more than one. Because that way I make sure that I've got a consistent series look, and also I know us. Just one is probably not going to be enough. Which is why there were 3 pinup models from the beginning.
Something on the Trad Pub, that brings me something that I've been discussing with Rita and Jonna. Once a month, we're looking at doing what we're going to call a little live stream called Rising Tide. And I've decided that in 2024, the publishing world has been a crab bucket for too long.
Mm-hmm.
And it has. The publishing world is people dragging each other down. Well, somebody a long time ago said, be the change you want to see in the world. Well, I don't care about the world. I've done some changes in the world that I will pay for sooner or later. However, I would like to be the change I want to see in the industry. So I've decided that we're going to use what little reach we have to uplift other small presses.
Mm-hmm.
And Hillbilly doesn't know it, but he's going to be our test. He's going to be our guinea pig for this. We're going to look for small presses, writing groups, independent authors, people that need a helping hand, and we're going to interview them, give them our platform for 30 minutes or an hour or whatever to talk, to reach out to our folks, tell them about themselves, what they want to do, how they want to do it.
Courtney.
And we're going to call it the Rising Tide Podcast. We're looking at doing it once a month, and I'm going to snatch Hillbilly for the first one. Three Ravens. Let him interview them for 30 minutes or an hour or
We're
so.
gonna do it on here.
Huh?
We're gonna do it on here.
Yeah, as
We'll
far
probably
as I know.
do it on the North Texas Troublemakers page, just because that way it's a little bit,
Or we can do it on here.
or we can do it on here.
We got 500 subscribers. Hell,
Why not? I
Yeah.
mean, but the other thing about that, Ian, is the fact that yes, we can interview them and we can do cross-platform promotions,
Mhm.
but it's also a great way to do innovation, because you're going to bounce ideas off of each other and talk about things that individually you might not think about, but comparing notes and putting your heads together, you'll come up with things that you might not do individually. That's why I like working with other people and
Mhm.
not writing tends to be a very solitary job. Publishing, not so much, but writing is a very solitary job. And I sometimes like the fact that when I start bouncing ideas off of other people, and I suspect it'll be the same for publishing. It seems to, I mean, that's what innovation comes from, is having the freedom, which we do as small presses and publishers.
Mhm.
So it's bouncing ideas off of each other
Well-
and coming up with creative things.
Well, I'm an investigator by training. So I started looking at when I decided, hey, I'm going to be a small publisher. I started researching it. And honest God, it looks like a crab bucket to me.
Mhm.
It's small
It's a
publishers
zero-sum game. I
pu-
mean, they
pulling
assume,
each other down,
right.
backbiting, pulling each other down. I don't want to do that.
Well, they assume that there's a limited pool of readers, and they need to get all of those readers and hoard them because they can't share them. Well, there's several things wrong with that paradigm of readership and publishing. First of all, it's not a limited pool of readers. And if you do things to reach out and broaden that pool of readers, like we've done with the postcards anthology, and if you, I mean, the short fiction was all but dead there for a long time. There was no market for short fiction. That's what they told me.
Horseshit.
Right.
We've already proved that.
Right. There are readers that want that. And that finding out that there are readers that want that, we found that out kind of by doing it, and then that sold really well. Let's do it again. And we keep doing that. So,
Well, one of the things that Hillbilly and I were talking about yesterday, we had a long talk. And Braggintor Press, Three Ravens is kind of our sister.
yeah.
Where we help each other up.
Yeah.
We exchange stuff. We help each other out, and this like I said, be the change you want to see in the industry.
Yeah.
So I'm going to put my money where my mouth is. But we were talking, and we both had come to the independent conclusion that there is a untapped market for basically pulp literature. It's fuse, and and the bad guy loses, the good guy wins. They ride off in the sunset.
When you look at the early pulp magazines, one of the earliest pulp magazines in a era when this was still in its infancy had a subscription of 900,000 people. And the world was a lot smaller back then in terms of population. But human nature doesn't change, which means that is a massive proportion of humans that like pulp. And
Well,
we're just barely starting to tap into that.
I know I'm weird, but I'm not that much of an outlier. I read stuff to escape. Yeah, I read. It's my escape.
Mhm.
And I grimdark just pisses me off.
Yeah.
I like pulps.
I
I like fuse and swinging swords, and the bad guys lose, good guys win, off in the sunset. And that's what we've been doing here. And Hillbilly was doing the same thing at Three Ravens.
Well, and look at science. Look at how much of science actually came out of science fiction.
Oh yeah, the
So
number
much.
of astronauts in early NASA
Mhm.
that cite Edgar Rice Burroughs and Jules Verne as their inspiration.
And I mean, and even after that too, if you look at the stuff that came out of the original series of Star Trek, that people, I mean, created the communication device is what
Yeah.
led to the cell phone. And so we have a long history of science fiction reinforcing science and development by sparking the imagination and having people ask why not.
Well,
So
does everybody remember when the Space Shuttle Enterprise, when it was revealed and they got the Star Trek crew to be there?
Yeah.
It was I think NBC had it. And the number of nerds in the background with pocket protectors and RPGs and ties that were sending people to the moon,
And
There were-
condom glasses, yes.
that overseeing the start, Captain Kirk and Lieutenant Uhura. It's like, here's a PhD that's launched people to the moon, and he's back. He's a 14-year-old again.
yeah,
Science fiction, guys. Good, uplifting stories do that.
the sense of wonder. I mean, really, that's what I want, is the sense of wonder, the sense that there are still discoveries to be made and worlds to explore. And even if I'm not going to make it to one, my kids might, or my grandchildren.
We can write it in stories and let other people
Yes.
read it.
Yes.
And
And then inspire the next generation to go out there and do great things.
Well, how much of science fiction
Mhm.
has become reality?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
how much science fiction has driven reality?
Oh, the boys need heroes to read about is so spot on. One of our friends is a children's librarian for Salt Lake City Public Libraries, which is a very large library system. And they're running a reading contest. They're a winter reading program, not as big as summer reading program for obvious reasons, but it's a reading contest. And if you follow the rules of the reading contest, you win a book.
Mm-hmm.
There are, I think, 16 prizes that he had, books that are on his list of prizes he can give out. 2 are for boys, and 1 of them is for a game that hasn't been popular for half a decade.
Yeah.
For a video game that hasn't been popular for that long. Which makes me want to write books for boys. It's ever since I was a children's librarian, which has been 12 years now, I have known that there was a desperate, crying need for books for boys.
Yeah.
And everybody's like, oh, boys had their turn. No, we can't rely just on the classics. Wonderful classics. And you can always go back to Kipling and Kelgard and all of the My Side of the Mountain, Jean Craig George, and all of there's wonderful classics the boys can enjoy, but we also need the modern stuff. It took my son a while to get into How Spacesuit Will Travel, which once he got past the antiquated tech, he loved it.
Mm.
But it was really hard for him to get into that science fiction inspiring classic because antiquated tech.
That was written at a time when the spacesuit barely existed.
Right.
Mhm.
Right. So now we need the modern equivalent for that. We need to keep moving forward, especially with science fiction.
Yeah.
Fantasy is a little easier in that because fantasy tends to always be a throwback. Not
Yeah.
always, but to fantasy, but epic fantasy, heroes, sword and sorcery tends to always be a throwback because swords.
Right.
Although I personally like Swords and Planet, but that's a whole different thing. But yeah, it's really difficult to find. This is why I keep nagging you about the education of Law Dog, because we need more inspiring, fun books for boys.
Inspiring.
Yeah.
Hey,
Oh.
that is an inspiration. Have you looked at how some of the early rocket men became? They were rocket boys first, blowing their father's barns up.
Yeah.
There are two. Well, there are multiple milestones. There are 2 milestones that one of which I'll never see, and one of which I think I will. That will let me know that we have done good things.
Mm-hmm.
And the first milestone will be when I see one of our baby authors' name on a book in a bookstore.
Mhm.
When one of our baby authors, they've got a contract and they've got their name in an honest to God brick and mortar bookstore, that'll be a fantastic moment.
Well,
You
we've already
realize
seen that.
that's going to happen in just a few months, just a few feet from where you're sitting.
I'm talking like Barnes and Noble.
We've got that.
But
Mona Lisa Foster.
why?
Okay, she's
Well,
not one of
well-
our, well, not one of our baby authors. One of the
One
ones
of our
that,
baby authors
one of the
is
ones
in a
that-
bookstore. They're in the Red Dragon books up in Ohio, in Kansas. Why do we have to stick with the trad pub thing? Why?
We
it's
don't.
my milestones. I get to define them.
Okay, there's a good reason.
The second milestone will be when an astronaut somewhere out in somewhere out past Jupiter has a copy of Raptor Press's Space Cowboys in his duffel bag.
I like
When
that.
when one of our books, and that'll be probably 100 years in the future, one of our books is on the way out past the Mars, that'll be a milestone.
And Courtney's yawning.
No, okay.
Dr. Quinn made an offer, but
People keep, he mentioned John Van Stry, and those are our baby. I'm talking about somebody who's first ever,
Was in a Raconteur
One of our-
press. Yeah.
one of
Which
our
we
baby
have-
authors that, like
right.
Manny or Spearman Burke,
Or Remy.
Remy Denote.
Remy.
Yeah.
who we published their first, we gave them their first royalty check.
Yeah.
And then I want to watch them go from that
My
to
bro-
being a
Yeah.
best-selling author.
My brother-in-law, Ted Begley, has several stories now. He's a brilliant comedic writer, which doesn't actually surprise me because the man can tell stories. And after 30 years working for Hilton, has he got stories?
Understood.
But he wasn't even thinking seriously about writing, and along we came with the postcards anthology, and he's like, I can do 50 words, and now he's got 3 stories,
Yeah,
I think, in
love
the
that.
anthologies.
I love that.
And he's seriously planning his novel, and I've been cheering him on in our private messages and
Yeah.
telling him I'll read for him, I'll help him with the cover,
I want to see.
because that's a growth.
I
You
want to see our
this
baby
just
authors. I want to see
growth.
Yeah.
I want to see Remy Denote
Mhm.
on New York
Literally
Times
baby.
bestseller list. Her novel, or Manny Ratliff's novel, or Spearman Book's novel. That's what I want to see.
We just gotta have
David,
enough money to
I
buy
published
that.
you early
point.
enough. I get to call you.
What?
David Bach says, I guess I'm out of the running. Rack Press was my 4th published story, but I published him very early on. So I get to claim you.
Yeah, but those are I have many milestones, and those are the 2 I'll be public about. When one of the people that first published through us
Mhm.
makes it big, I will be just so thrilled.
Yeah.
And then I'll be long dead and
John,
gone.
dealing with Ingram is something that's a work in progress right now. There's a couple of things that we can do to expanded distribution and just sheerly encouraging people to order it. I mean, it's one of those things that you can get most of the books, just go into places and order them, which won't get them on the shelf necessarily, but it does get the names in the systems.
right. So what I've seen done in the past, lots of asterisks on this, which is don't do it as a mob, and do it for books that you actually want to see carried locally. But if you
Mhm.
go into your local big box store, not big box, sorry, not Sam's Club, Costco, or anything, but like
Right.
Barnes and Noble, Books a Million.
Mhm.
If you go in and you order a book that is available for expanded distribution through Amazon, they can order it and they will ship it so you can pick it up at the store.
Yes.
If there's enough of them that are done like that, they will carry some of the managers will carry a couple in the store because it's obviously popular and getting sales through their system.
Mhm.
Hillbilly. Yes,
now-
we do need to talk about that.
If it's through Ingram, which means it's through the Baker and Taylor system and not expanded distribution through Amazon, they are more likely to carry it in the store because it comes up through someone who's not Amazon.
Yeah.
And we have a meeting today where we will be talking about how this happens. But if you have a local author who you want to have them carry at your local stores, go in and have them order through their system instead of ordering through Amazon. Yes, they get paid more if you order through Amazon, but if you want them carried locally, you have to deal with local bookstores.
Jim Totten had a comment about Shaking Heaven. Somebody a couple weeks ago sent me a meme they'd made from Little China, Big Trouble in Little China,
Mhm.
and Jack Burton. His Racketeer Press had Racketeer Press logo over Jack Burton's face and was shaking the pillars of heaven. It's like, damn Skippy.
Well, and the other thing is that encourage your local independent bookstore. A lot of them are going to be more interested in indie projects if they're not one of the politically motivated sorts. And unfortunately, there are too many of those that are more interested in activism than making money. But the local bookstores usually need local authors because that brings in people. If you are willing to come in and do a reading or a signing and there's publicity, so you're
And you're
bringing in
local.
and you're local and you're bringing in your fans to the bookstore because those fans presumably are going to buy books, then this can be a profitable association for them. So that's also a thing to consider and to sound out your local bookstores.
Mhm.
But we're also seeing, I mean, Jonna's going to be doing a little bookstore here. Rob Howell does Red Dragon up in Kansas. So I'm starting to see a small resurgence in local bookstores. Now, they're generally going to be a combined business model of used and new.
Mhm.
Because that's, I mean, face it, they have to survive as a business.
Yeah.
And I think that we will see this be a thing in smaller areas where the cost of starting a business is less. Because that's the thing with the big bookstores that are publicly going out of business, the ones that are located in Manhattan, they just can't afford to pay their bills.
Also, you need to be kind of small enough that the Walmart book area isn't
Walmart's doing away with a lot of the book areas.
really.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's been a thing recently. One of the articles that's been going the rounds is that Walmart and Best Buy and a couple of other the big box stores are doing away with books, CDs, and DVDs.
Yeah.
Oh,
So all
wow.
the physical copies of stuff because they aren't selling. And I mean, from a business standpoint, I understand why. From
You
a
can download everything now or stream it.
right, and so they aren't
Not
selling the
yours.
physical copies enough to justify
Yeah.
the expense of the shelf space for them. They can put the shelf space into a more profitable item that will actually sell. Where
Of course,
that leads,
if they had stories, if they had books that were worth reading, if they tagged the
is-
indie press instead of traditional press, they'd have books that
actually,
people want to read.
what's interesting there is my son dragged me into our local Walmart's book section, which looked like it had been picked over by vultures, which isn't because of the volume of turnover. It's the fact that they're not restocking it, they're
Yeah.
not paying any attention to it. What he was looking for, and he didn't find, were manga series.
Yeah.
Manga sells. You go into a Barnes and Nobles or something like that, manga sells, and it's not because it's illustrated. That's part of it. Yes, the comic book thing has been an appeal for a long time, and American comic books went whoop, and now
Yeah.
most people don't want to read them. Manga, it's the
Yeah,
storylines
they
in
have
manga.
they have an actual plot to them.
Yeah.
A good one.
And they have decent characters that you care about. Because my kids went seriously into manga and anime, so I paid attention. And as a children's librarian, I started a section of it in the library because that we couldn't keep on the shelves. It was getting checked out and going.
Yeah.
Whereas the YA activist woke fiction that was on all the American Library Association buy this book lists, those would come in. And I mean, our friend in Salt Lake City talks about the fact that they get in books that they've had for however long it is until they get ready to weed them out. They've never been checked out because they were that bad. Kids just aren't interested.
Well, the other thing you can do is donate copies to your local libraries.
Yes.
Like we do.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we've talked about that. We
I
actually,
seriously encourage people to donate
Mhm.
copies of your books to your local library.
Yeah, the broadcast did an interview with our local librarian here, Amy. So if you go over onto the North Texas Troublemakers and look for our interview with Amy, the librarian, you'll get some really good information as an indie author who's potentially interested in donating books. Because there are ways to do it that are effective, and there are ways to do it that will piss librarians off, and your books will get chucked. So don't do that. But
We love
it
our
right.
local library.
yeah, we have a great librarian here. We really are blessed with her.
I've donated to 3 local libraries, and my books are still today
Mhm.
being checked out
Mhm.
in all 3 libraries.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's one of the things. So when I was a librarian, we would get boxes of books just show up that we hadn't ordered that were being donated by a local author. And I mean, first of all, we didn't need multiple copies because our circulation wasn't big enough to need multiple copies of most anything.
Yeah.
And nobody knew who this guy was or what this book was about. And I think we accessioned 1 copy. The rest of them went in the library book sale. And I'm not even sure we accessioned 1 copy. I think my boss took it off to look at it and it disappeared.
No,
Well, you do to get that too.
mine and Jim's are getting checked out regularly at the
Well,
local.
but that's the thing is
But-
that you guys, your books are something that the reading population here is interested in. You had a relationship with the librarian and didn't just
We're
dump books that she wasn't interested in.
Go ahead.
no, we have a professional relationship with the local library.
Okay, relationships mean so many different things.
No comment.
Also,
She knows who you are and puts up with you.
also our local librarian has a local author section.
Yeah.
And she,
A local librarian is a local author, which
Yeah.
is delightful.
which is great.
Finally.
Yeah. And
God.
so she and the library
Beat
staff,
her
oh
over
look,
the head
local,
for 3 years.
local authors. Everybody goes, people want to read local authors. They really do. Ooh,
Yeah.
local authors? I head straight for that section.
Yeah. Yeah. John's talking about his local library isn't interested in indie published books, and unfortunately, that is a thing. And you
Yeah.
might have to find out that your local library may not be interested in your books. What you can do there again is encourage your readers to go to libraries and ask for books, similarly to going into a bookstore. I know the small library where I worked, we gave precedent to the books that patrons requested in our ordering budget.
Yeah.
Because we knew they'd go out at least once.
Also, if you have a retirement center or something like that in your area, and you have geezer appropriate books,
Yeah.
retirement centers love donated books, and the geezers love reading donated books, as long as they're geezer appropriate.
Yeah. Of course, now you got to figure out which geezers you're talking about. The other place, if you want to talk about donating books, if you have an airport with a USO in it,
Oh yes, or
USOs
a
have a book exchange, and I have seen the same book show up in Florida and in California. And when I say the same book, I mean the exact same
that
book,
that book right there.
because that book had my name in it. Because what people will do is they'll read it and they'll sign it
Mm-hmm.
and they'll turn it in at another USO.
So you remember which ones
What is
you've
it?
read.
FBO.
No, USO,
Yeah, I know. But also the FBO, FOB, FBO.
FBOs, FBOs and APOs,
No, the where the private pilots go. What's that called?
FBOs, yeah,
FBO.
fixed base operators.
At most airports have what's called an FBO, fixed base operator, and it's where the private pilots go, and it's where they get they buy their fuel and they get their weather reports. It's most of them have an FBO. Donate books, sir.
Speaking of FBOs and USOs and donations, we should find out if Bain is still doing Operation Bain Bulk and get in on it, because what they were doing was donating books and sometimes in ebook form to the hospitals like Walter Reed.
Yeah.
And they would send bundles over to Germany. Can't remember the name of the big hospital.
Monstool. Yeah.
Thank you.
I'd like to get into that.
Yeah, because
Well-
I don't know if they are, because I know both of the gentlemen that were running it had a conflict of personalities and nobody else was willing to take on a project of that size.
BAMC,
So,
Brooks Army Medical Center at San Antonio.
Yeah.
yeah,
That's-
we've got people local to that. We could get a package to them and have
I
them
haven't even
walk
thought
it
about
in.
that.
Well, I mean,
So-
we sent down range a couple of years ago.
Oh, well,
Yeah.
boxes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the thing is, and that's what Bain has been doing, and part of how Bain has built their readership
Yeah.
up in the military is these guys that are overseas and starving for reading
Anything to read.
material.
I was one of them.
I know, and I've heard my husband talk about it too,
Yeah.
and some of the stuff that he read or got to the end and someone had disappeared with the last few pages.
Yeah.
Yes.
I still want to kill that asshole.
Oh, that one. Oh, that's one dick in my unit used to do that. He always get the. I got addicted to Graham Masterson. The
Yeah.
horror. I don't like horror, but Graham Masterson writes horror that's more action oriented. The Dream Warrior or something. I got addicted to those. And one dick. We get Graham Masterson, he'd read it and rip out the last chapter and put it back in the box because he thought it was funny.
So yeah, so I think that might be a longer term project for Raconteur Press, but I would like to start seeing us be able to donate books like that, like Bain does.
Yeah.
Because I've done it with my books. When we were doing Bain Bulk, I donated ebooks that got loaded onto donated e-readers and then handed out to the gentlemen that were and ladies that were in the hospital
Yeah.
and weren't mobile. So an e-reader was a good way for them to be able to read.
I've actually been meaning to hit up Jim for some of his westerns for the Raisin Farm.
Yeah.
Because the folks the reason why I bring up the retirement centers, independent living centers, is a lot of them have libraries, and what they get, at least at ours, is church ladies donate a lot of romances,
Oh, God.
and we have some gentlemen there, little old geezer gentlemen, and they go to the library, they read the newspaper, they sniff at and then if one of my books, because my books are there, if one of my books is free, they'll grab it. But majority of the shelves are romances.
I have a bunch of duplicate Lemurs. Do you think they would like that?
I can ask.
Okay. Yeah, because I've been wondering what to do with them, because that for a while there, that was all Sanford was reading, and the paperbacks were small enough he could stick in his pocket and take to work to read on his lunch break.
Yeah.
And this is before I got him reading ebooks, and now he's off and running.
Donate the Spurgle series to the county jail. Oh, a complete set has been mailed somewhere
All right. We've
anonymously.
wasted another hour of your time.
We're going to send it to his office.
As a reminder, January the 20th will be the next North Texas Troublemakers potluck
Yes,
If you want
at
to,
Sammy's Social Center.
everybody invited.
if you want to sign up to bring something, and that could be anything from paper plates to actual food, ping me. I have a sign up sheet.
Well, I've got the plates and that stuff already covered.
Okay, well then I won't tell people to bring them.
Guys, if you can make it, the quarterly North Texas Troublemaker dinner is great, and you don't need an invitation. Just show up,
And
Which
you
is-
don't actually have to bring anything.
which is
No.
different than showing up at Jim's house where the man is highly armed. You don't need an invitation to show up at Jim's house.
Hey, we have the best armed suppers around.
Yeah, the potluck is good.
Yeah.
It'll be from 5 to 9 at
5 to
Sammy's
9.
Social here in
Owl Park.
Iowa Park, Texas. So
Jay, Jim talking. Jay, take care and have fun in Germany. You hear me?
Yeah. Remember, shiny side up.
And remember, don't sweat the petty stuff. Don't pet the sweaty stuff.
Before you date the Wookiee, do a package check.
Yeah.
I am not
Oh, God.
even.
Y'all be safe.